Hang on.
We'll finish with who we started, I guess. We can probably try and get one chapter in.
I want to read at least something, because I've been looking forward to it all day.
Alright.
Same.
Read your plants, whatever this is.
I do want to read Plants, too.
Regrets is what it looks like, but I will trust you, Bear. If I regret it for sure, we're not friends anymore.
Oh no!
Oh no! No pressure, though.
I love that question mark next to Tessa's statement. Oh no?
Oh no!
Alright, do we want to wait for Prone? He said he'd be right back. Let's give him a hot minute.
Everyone stops and looks, and it's like that moment in JoJo's where it's like,
Stop
Same.
but I go nowhere.
Alright,
Someone came
we're
in.
ready.
Are we ready?
You man.
Are we actually ready now?
Yes.
Everyone's been
really,
leaving. I
really
forgot
ready
who
now?
actually left.
Bear, you're ready.
very.
Alright.
Are you very ready?
Oh my god, get out.
God.
All of you get out. Get out.
Guys, thank you. Just starts bowing. Where's my
sorry,
tomato
Margarita.
sauce?
That was fun. Thanks, guys. Alright, finally! The moment you've all been waiting for. Green with Envy by Gibbous Lunaton.
Lunaton, yeah.
I think
Lunaton?
you give us lunation.
Well, if you want to be fancy about it.
Or
Fancy.
give us lunation.
Alright. You guys are ready for bad British accents. Claire, go with the theme song.
I told you should have
Da 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 da.
Ba-ba-da-ba.
And then we get taken
Oh,
down for
man.
copyright.
Alright, ready?
With 4 notes.
Are you sure you're all ready?
I'm ready.
Yes!
Alright.
So ready.
I'm asking because I'm the nerd, that's why I'm asking.
Alright, go.
Relaxation was everyone's first priority, no doubt. The Galran Empire was mostly out of commission. Pitch's family returned safely and everything fell neatly back into place. The universe, of course, still needed its heroes, however. Once the word had gotten out that Voltron had returned, bigger and better than ever, assholes tended to crop up out of the woodwork just for fun. After the smoke and dust had settled from their most harrowing and badass battle yet, Lance's first priority was to let his family know what the hell was going on. They'd been away from Earth for almost an entire year with no emails, no calls, no postcards from the middle of space featuring abnormally sized potatoes and a friendly "wish you were here." Needless to say, Lance's mother had been pleased and had practically dragged him home for a week by his earlobe. Frankly, he was just glad to see her, and even more glad that the news her son was being hailed as a hero across the galaxy prevented her from bringing out La Chancla. Giant robot battles? No big deal. He handled those on a daily basis. His mother, worried and livid beyond the capability of speech? Galra hath no fury like it. Long story short, Lance was currently bundled up in a large knitted sweater, squished between his 2 youngest siblings, who wouldn't stop asking him questions about what space was like, in between shoving their chubby fingers into any available orifice on his face, while being force-fed ridiculous amounts of home-cooked meals and attempting to watch an assortment of holovids on his phone. After months in space eating only strange gelatinous cubes with no earthen name, it was safe to say Lance was living in paradise. Allura hadn't been super happy with his half-kidnapping, worried that with the Paladin down and the rubble only just beginning to set from the fall of the Galran Empire, trouble was bound to leap up at them. From their experience so far, she was very likely correct. But then Lance's mother had taken over the video call and he'd been excused from the room, and he couldn't say exactly what had happened, only that Allura had primly walked into the dining hall that evening with a strained smile and wished him well during his vacation. Galrans really should have looked into angry mother technology when they'd had the chance. Of course, even light years away from Shiro and missions and food cubes didn't mean that Team Voltron was taking a vacation. Translation being, just because you're an Earth, Lance, doesn't mean you get to skip out on team bonding exercises. But what was a crew to do without an actual Lance present to participate in said exercises? Apparently video messages were the answer. Lots and lots of video messages. And possibly a fake houseplant. Lance had inconclusive evidence to support the later theory, but there had been a suspicious amount of plant-related selfies sent his way over the past few hours, and he was getting slightly worried they were all going slightly stir-crazy. Hunk's video were a little all over the place, but heartfelt as always. The first few felt a little more like diary entries than anything but hey, it was probably fine.
Is it Hunk?
Yep.
Lance, Blue Paladin, man. I don't know how in the hell I'm supposed to start these. Oh well. Anyways, Alora said that you aren't allowed to skip out on our bonding to keep our team functioning. So we're supposed to keep contact with you as much as possible, which isn't really going to work out because, you know, you can only record and send a reply after you get our videos. And because of the relay, there's a delay between sending and receiving that lasts about 4 hours. But
Hunk appeared to mull his own sentence over for a few moments, a voice that might have been Alura's or even the voice recorders on the ship really needed a tune-up. He could have sworn whoever it was yelled something about a plant or maybe a fan. Confusing. Hunk abruptly straightened up and seemed to brighten up.
oh yeah, I forgot about the palace or plants. I gotta water them after this. Oops. Also, Pidge figured out how to reverse engineer that tracking chip we found. So whenever you get back, we're going to head out to take a look into following it back where it came from. It's probably not dangerous, but Corin's absolutely losing his mind over all of this. He wiggled out on me yesterday because I walked into the training deck with my
Shirt tag.
shirt tag out all over the place in panic. Also, when you come back, can you bring me some of your mom's cookies? I miss cookies. I don't actually know what I was supposed to say in this, so bye, dude.
The next had a few pictures attached, a couple of map locations depicting areas they'd scoped out while spreading the word that the Galrans were officially closed for business. A couple of the pictures had that damned plant in the corner again, like it was mocking him or something. He had to go for a short walk after that thought. Jealousy over a plant was probably a sign he was spending too much time in the dark with a video screen. He sent back a quick video, wishing them all well with his usual charm, and sent a few selfies with various family members. Hunk had been a staple at their house during Lance's earlier school years. His family lived slightly too far away to visit for the less important holidays, so Lance had cheerfully dragged him along. Partially as a human shield against the endless questions, partially to alleviate Hunk's ever so slightly sad mood. His youngest siblings in particular loved the big guy and absolutely lost their minds in excitement at the prospect of sending him a video message. He didn't entirely know what they said between the loud talking over each other in half-formed sentences, but he definitely heard the words, "Lance has a crush," and was very quick to grab his phone back and end the video after that. Yikes. Shiro's videos were always short and cut to the point, with a little bit of classic goofy Shiro peeking in under the seams. They'd all been a little worried about the guy after the final battle. The Galran tech in his system and all the damage psychologically done to him had left a deep gouge they weren't sure they could fill in for a while. He'd nearly been forced to turn on them too, some part of his coding rewriting itself and deleting stacks of information in the process. But Lance reminded himself with a shake of his head, Shiro was better now and everything was fine. Even the dark circles and stress lines under the guy's eyes seemed fainter, less urgent. It was nice to see.
Lance, I hope you're enjoying your family time down there. Alora told me you're having a bit of difficulty with raiding a ride back up. I know we had to keep Blue here for safety, but honestly, it would feel better if you had her somewhere close by. You never know what might happen. Being prepared doesn't hurt.
Lance had to roll his eyes at that one, with a little whisper of, "Yes, Dad," under his breath. His youngest cousin, plastered to his side, giggled just on the side of too loud directly into his ear and ran off. Living with a big family used to be so normal, but he'd spent months nearly isolated beyond a scraggly group of ragtag heroes. No kids allowed. Being around a bunch of 8-year-olds was exhausting in a strangely nice way.
Lance said Dad. Lance is so funny. Lance!
He was grateful for the admiration, but he might have to scratch the nice part.
Is this Lance? I'm not sure. Yeah, Lance is so great. He's going somewhere else that's not here. Continue listening to his very important video. That's how great Lance is.
He stuck his tongue out for good measure, watching as his cousin laughed uproariously and scuttled off. Lance continued the video after pointedly waving his phone at the remaining family members and stepping into the bathroom with a dramatic door click. He loved his family fiercely, but come on.
Anyways, I talked. Wait, is this you or me?
It's you.
You too.
Okay, just making sure. Anyways, I talked to Alora and Corin, and we're willing to extend your trip to a month like you asked. Well, willing in the sense that Alora's eyebrow twitched so intensely I thought she was going to explode. But she agreed there wasn't anything pressing going up here. Your mother must have really explained things to her, huh?
That was a monumental understatement.
We're still on the lookout for straggling survivors. The numbers are steadily increasing every day, which is a great sign. I wanted to thank you for your hard work and for, well, saving my life. You are a hero, Lance. You deserve a nice long hero's vacation, so I hope you enjoy it fully and stay safe down there. Meanwhile, I have a plan to water.
He smiled then, the hull of it depicting the eye crinkles in blurred detail, but Lance knew they were as crunchy and friendly as ever.
You're going soft, old man.
He whispered a little tearfully. Cheryl was like that, 7 or 8 years older than him and Hunk, ancient practically. It was great news nonetheless to hear that people were turning up more and more, that the Galra hadn't actually taken out most of the galaxy like they planned, that Voltron had helped tremendously even, and...
Lance! Hey, idiota! Some of us need to pee!
Right, bathroom.
Hey, Shiro. Great to hear from you. I only snagged a few minutes of quiet down here, so I'll make this quick. I know you're all probably desperate to hear from me, but alas, I'm glad to hear. Wow, I'm sorry. I'm glad to hear people are all right. Make sure they make my statue bigger than Keys. All right, of most importance. Also, make his mullet the focal point. It's important that the universe knows how much he looks like how heroic he is. Yes, that.
His mother banged on the bathroom wall more insistently, and he winced.
Welp, the public needs me. I'll send you all more details about my amazing family adventure soon. Try not to miss me too much up there, hey? Lance out.
He threw in an extra wink and ended the video just in time to catch the Spanish exclamation chock full of colorful insults thrown his way.
Hello, Lance. This is awkward. I know you're recording videos too, but I'm aware we can't actually enter a call here from the ship without all kinds of interference. And since the lack of flow basically renders this exercise null and void to only have a one-way stream, I'm not too sure what the point of this is, but...
Pitch shrugged, fiddling away with some assortment of electronics just out of sight from the screen.
Allura insisted, and I don't really feel like running extra laps at practice, so, oh well.
Lance was a little worried about the idea of video calls. Grateful that he could escape that possibility entirely due to bad Wi-Fi. He knew his older siblings would do everything in their power to snoop if they could, nosy assholes. So the quick videos were all he was really able to manage. Currently, he was only avoiding their grubby fingers by holing up in his room and watching videos at 2 a.m. But tomorrow was Christmas, and most likely he was going to get tackled at full speed by a mob of 8-year-olds in a few hours. So there were consequences to his genius. Ho, 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 his ass. They'd kind of forgotten Christmas in space, now that he thought about it. He wondered if he could somehow transport ugly sweaters to all of them. Allura and an itchy, hideous Rudolph would be present enough, most likely. She'd probably put it on just to encourage the positive atmosphere, and Karan would follow suit, getting way into it. The two of them were always endlessly curious about human cultures and whatnot. It was kind of heartwarming. He kind of missed all of Team Voltron and their shenanigans. He wished they could celebrate Christmas all together.
Also, I think the rest of the team forgot to mention this in their previous videos, but we've replaced you.
Never mind that thought. He hoped they'd accidentally got caught in the gravitational pull of a particularly large, rude-ass star.
What?
Which, in hindsight, yelling loudly in rightful indignation at 2 a.m. was probably a terrible, very bad idea. And he definitely deserved the verbal assault thrown in his direction through the wall. Oops.
Meet Plance, the newest blue paladin.
Pidge held up that goddamn plant to the camera, now with a wonderfully terrible picture Hunk had got of him, and a mid-burp taped to the pot.
He's just like you, but improved. Sitting around all day, doing nothing, except Plants actually, creates oxygen instead of using it all while talking about completely made up great achievements. Plus, Plants has not once yet tried and failed to hit on the princess, which I personally think is a grand improvement.
Well, this certainly was bringing a brand new light to the term. They were all definitely getting coal for Christmas. He'd made up his mind. He was going to mail them all coal individually somehow, or else throw it to them from here.
Unrelated to Plants news, the latest video your sibling sent made Hunk almost tear up, as I'm sure he's probably told you.
Hunk, of course, had made sure to immediately record and say, "I thank you. I miss you and your cooking." Oh yeah, Hunky could read.
Oh, thank you. I miss you and your cooking. I'm definitely attempting to hug you all from here, but all the limitations to my physical form are independent of my efforts.
Type video that Lance had only skipped through and summarized for his family. The guy would just have to tell them all next time he came to visit. Lance wouldn't be caught dead expressing genuine sentiment with his teenage cousins and uncles nearby. No, thank you.
He cooked an amazing celebratory, emotional release of some kind. Dinner the other night, and my stomach hasn't been such a concerning mix of full and please since. I'm not actually sure how long. So thank you for that. Also, Hunk misses you, so get back up here soon. Anyways, I have to go water plants, and we're all gonna watch a movie with him. So have fun. Bye.
Page, speak for...
I also miss you, but sentiments make me uncomfortable, and I'm resolutely ignoring any indication of emotion.
Lance understood that thought, even though he fell asleep immediately after dreaming of a super dumb potted plant that was stealing his friends. The dream may or may not have ended with Keith dramatically confessing his love for plants and Lance having to do the shitty excuse for a replacement while it toted an evil henchman-style mustache. And even more so, it might have involved riding off into the sunset with said dramatic paladin. But Lance would admit that only over his dead body or an excess of bad tequila shots, whichever came first. He really needed to stop hanging out around his youngest relatives. Their weird fairy tale books were getting to him in the worst ways. Lance was vaguely concerned that the lack of Keith videos were making him miss the guy. That would be horrible and unspeakable. Christmas had been, for lack of a better, explicative-filled word, nice. It kept surprising Lance, waking up without alarm bells or pale gray metal walls. The screaming children and flying chubby limbs weren't better, but different at least. Everything was so calm here. He'd once thought of home as hectic and chaotic and far too claustrophobic, but it was nice. Nice to have so many faces and helping hands and boring non-mission critical conversations about the weather and gardening and going to the store and so on. There was something so average and magical about holding a steaming cup of hot chocolate in the blurry-eyed hours of the morning, and gathering around a shitty plastic tree to share happiness and excitement for a few hours. He'd missed it, he realized. But the wobbly quality to his mother's tightly pressed lips, she had too. His parents had given him the hoverboard he'd been begging for back at the academy. Kind of adorable now, but cool nonetheless. And a safety kit full of convenience store traveling gear like spray-on adhesives. Again, kind of adorable considering the massive amounts of alien tech floating in their castle fortress. He'd been touched anyways, of course. Due to all of his traveling, he hadn't been able to buy anyone presents. There wasn't much space for tourist attractions or souvenirs in between nearly being vaporized, shockingly. But they'd all hugged him anyways and said it was present enough. 17 different pairs of arms squeezing him far too tight wasn't really his idea of a good time, but he'd stomach it for his dumb family. He wondered vaguely how Pidge was doing. They'd sent their brother and father home to heal and recoup and be safe, but Pidge was probably spending their first Christmas away from home. Lance didn't know how he'd have to deal with it. Probably by making jokes. Yeah, that sounded about right. Later he'd send a care package for all of Team Voltron. Hot cocoa powder, cheesy Santa hats, maybe even a wreath. Definitely a string of lights. God knows they could use the color in the line walls of the monotony up there. Maybe he'd get his mother to make them some of her cookies too, or some of her other dessert specials. A little taste of Earth up there in the void of space. He also made sure to record an extra video for them all, and received a terrible filter-filled selfie of the gang with Plance dead center wearing sunglasses and a string of lights. The worst present ever. Though he'd never admitted he was kind of weirdly relieved to see Keith in the picture also, looking uncomfortable and stupid beside Allura's brightly grinning face, with an absolutely hilarious Rudolph nose firmly planted on his face. Lance saved the picture immediately, telling himself it was purely for blackmail purposes and nothing else.
It's Allura, isn't it?
Yeah.
Lance, the Paladins have been telling me all about how today is a special Earth holiday. Crisp moss, or something like that. We have something similar on Altea. A day of family and gift-giving. Except, of course, ours involved a ceremonial travel out into the caves to banish the great beast that lurks within, but very similar nonetheless. I realized I haven't sent you a video myself yet, and I wanted to wish you and your mother a very happy day. I also hope that you've been keeping up with your training down there, but I understand if you've been preoccupied. Family is very important, and I am truly glad that you're spending time with yours.
If Lance had any questions about the honesty of her words, the pure, unadulterated sparkle in her eyes would have banished them immediately. Sometimes he forgot how fiercely Allura loved her father. He felt an intense wave of sorrow for the princess suddenly, realizing outside of Karan she had no one left in the universe to celebrate her people's holiday.
Hey, Allura, this isn't usually my thing, I realize, and don't you dare let Keith or Pidge see this. I'm trusting you entirely with my very hefty and weighty reputation at the moment. It's very important and fragile, but I want to say that, well, when I get back up there, we can all celebrate your day too, huh? With Karan and everyone, we'll make it special. Missing family during the holidays can be really tough, and, well, I don't want you to think that you don't have a family, I guess. I mean, unless you don't think of us as that way. It's fine. I mean, it's not fine, but yeah, I'm just going to quit while I'm ahead here.
He smiled anxiously and turned the video off, contemplating deleting it, or somehow taking the file out and eating it, then burning the evidence. But Allura had looked so sad and lonely for a split second in her video, so forlorn and wistful he just couldn't bring himself to do it, and resignedly sent the damning evidence off to her. He hoped Plance to be there to make sure her and Karan were all right. Speaking of Karan, Lance really needed to remember to wear headphones when the Excitable Man's videos popped up in his inbox. The guy liked to yell, and yell he did. About anything and everything, on and on, never losing momentum for so much as a split second. Honestly, it was kind of impressive how seriously he took the whole diary project. If it weren't for the ear-splitting headache he ended up with after every video, even with the volume at the lowest setting, he'd almost appreciate them. Almost.
Lance, did I ever tell you about the time that I went fishing on the 12th Altean moon? Well, I guess it's not entirely fishing, more like dragon hunting with very large poles. And we don't so much catch the dragons as we do run away from them screaming like wee little children.
He paused to wipe a tear from his eye. A fond look filled his features as he looked.
Well, anyways, it's a fantastic story. There were 4 of us, and we had these extremely large sticks, and because all the poles were missing, strangely, and
Pidge suddenly appeared in the video feed, entering in through a door behind in full battle gear, an urgency filling the static as distant alarms shrieked down the hall.
oh dear, it appears I've missed my cue.
Karan stated blandly, and Pidge gestured exasperatedly in the background, yelling something indistinguishable. Lance could hear the frustrated sarcasm, even though the haze of cacophonous noise. The intensity of the situation hit Karan abruptly, his eyes widening in an almost comical way as a strangled goose squawk escaped him.
I've missed my cue. Goodbye, Plants. I'll talk to you later. Lance. Later. Talk. You know what I mean.
The feed cut out as Karan flailed off into the distance, worried and frantic squeaks trailing along with him. Lance shook his head in exasperation and only very slightly the smallest amount imaginable concern. First, over the fact Karan had most certainly referred to him as Plants, and secondly, Voltron couldn't form without him. He hoped they wouldn't need him and blew on whatever cue they were rushing towards. He realized, of course, that not every mission was a Voltron, but hey, he was a vital piece of the whole hero puzzle. So assume if you worried about their capability without him, they were all probably a disaster without his calm and level head.
Wow, I'm sure glad we work so well together without you, Lance. Shiro sure can keep the team together with his calm and level head.
Lance jumped in his desk seat, forgetting that the videos were set to autoplay, and covered his totally macho and completely reasonable shriek of surprise with a disgruntled frown.
There was a minor incident involving the distress beacon we were approaching on the planet Terek. The inhabitants didn't bother to warn us about the massive ring of asteroids surrounding their planet, or the near constant volcanic eruptions on the surface. I was meant to be at the deck to help with the landing, but, well, anyways, not much more than a duck with water on its back. We secured a landing point and went with the civilians and sorted all the hoopla out in less than a few ticks, really. It's like we weren't even missing a vital piece of Voltron at all.
He said the words with a smile that was only a tad wobbly, but Lance noticed. It made a lopsided fawn smile tug at his lips in response. Ah, Karan, still with the tragic misuse of Earth sayings and the blunt but genuine half-insults. He missed the guy, honestly.
Keith's been oddly sullen the past few weeks. Well, sullener. I caught him in the training room the other day throwing insults at poor Plants. Really, who could think of such a terrible and cruel thing? I thought it might be some moon sickness. We used to get that back in Altea when the third moon blew behind our second sun. Gave people quite the tummy ache. But he scarfed down his late evening food sustenance like nothing. So I'm guessing he's just...
Karan blinked suddenly, staring at the camera as if he'd lost himself. Tick.
Well, I'd better get back to Allura. Navigation systems to navigate and all that. Bye, Lance.
Lance felt his brows furrow. He's just... what? And what was that about verbally assaulting poor, defenseless Plant Lance? Of course Keith would ruin their bonding moment by being a huge oblivious ass. He couldn't just keep his hatred of Lance out of this, huh? So much for team spirit. The guy was probably just looking to stir up a fight with any version of Lance he could get his hands on, especially since this version of replacement Lance was a potted plant that couldn't argue back. He bet Keith probably felt like he was real clever, finally able to get the upper hand on him. How dare he, honestly. Plants had done nothing wrong, ever, in his short green life. He opened up their group chat, fueled by righteous fury, or at least as righteous as he could possibly feel at 2:34 a.m. on a Tuesday, surrounded by snoring relatives.
You guys all better be taking excellent care of Plant Me, or I'm gonna be pissed. Looking at you, Keith.
Forget jealousy. Forget replacing him on the team. He needed Keith to be. Damn it. This was about winning. Of course, he hadn't really expected the almost instantaneous reply, or that it would be from Keith of all people, and he most certainly hadn't been expecting the attached message of Keith smooching the potted plant with Lance's selfie strewn across it.
What the hell's Keith? You can't just kiss Plant Me.
He texted back, ignoring the way his face burned. He was angry, obviously. Just anger, nothing else. Righteous fury filled Keith hating anger. Well, it's not like I can kiss the real you, Keith immediately sniped back. Except, oh. Well, shit, that was new. He stared unbelieving at the phone for a solid 20 minutes, unblinking and strangely warm, before collapsing face first into his pillow. He definitely resisted the urge to scream into the fabric like a preteen would who'd just been asked out by their crush. He definitely didn't fall asleep with a shocked, goofy grin plastered across his face. He definitely did not immediately count the days until his return trip and imagine the embarrassed, gently constipated look Keith would probably be stuck with for the next 2 weeks. That would be dumb and probably sound a little too much like romance. And being in a concerning love triangle with a plant would be mildly disconcerting at best.
Yeah.
Bear, our friendship is still intact.
That was adorable, Bear.
This is a lovely fic.
I'm glad you guys like Fic
That
I
was really
found.
cute. I love that.
Plants is my spirit plant.
I love Plant. Oh man, that was
Honestly,
so...
I imagine plants as a cactus the whole time.
Same.
I did too. I did too.
I gotta bring back the plants, guys.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Oh, that was so cool.
So, now what?
Now what,
I
dude?
don't know.
So did the recording work? It's real.
Yeah. Shady. How'd that work out?